you, which originally started out as a panel called "Did you ever want to present at Penguicon and didn't know how, or simply want to participate in a more active role?" And then we figured out that was like the longest title ever. So this is just a getting to know you little session. I'm going to talk a little bit about what goes into the convention and kind of explain the roles. And then if you have ideas or questions or want to show some interest in one of the open positions, you are welcome to. If you want to tell us that you're interested in simply doing a panel or doing a project, if you want to tell us right now, you're welcome to do that too. Before we get started, I have a couple things up here. These would be a description of a track head. This is from the 2013 programming head. And so this is just kind of to give you an idea of what a track head might do, some of the things that they're responsible for, if you were wondering how the costuming track head, the science track head, the tech track head get through the year, okay? We're happy to share our ribbons with you as well. And one of my business cards is up here. It has my ecogeek@penguicon.org, and that you are welcome to email anytime. You will always get me at that. So the reason that I have ecogeek@penguicon.org is because I started with EcoTrack a few years ago. And over time, my responsibilities grew, and right now, I'm the head of programming. Next year, I will be the con chair for 2013. So I am definitely looking for more staff, more help, more panels. We're working on getting a hotel contract right now, and we've got an awesome list of guests of honor that we're working with right now to see who will be available, and then we'll set our date kind of based on those two things. So the other thing that is up here is I have a little bit of flyers left for this year. The cool thing about that is it looks cool, but the back has all of our social networks on it. So if you want to be able to find us on the website, on Google Plus, on Facebook, stuff like that, you can get this list too. Okay. So obviously the convention starts with the board. We have a Penguicon board, and they are a somewhat permanent group. They are here from year to year, making decisions that affect future con chairs for future conventions. And so they are a body in and of themselves. They have 6 meetings a year, and they make the decisions for permanent funds, permanent equipment, things that would have to go from year to year. Next, you have the ConCom. We call that the convention committee of the ConCom. And so right now, like head of programming, the con suite, the facilities, the operations, the registration, all of that falls into the convention committee, right? So a few key areas. Under those key areas, there's this huge hierarchy of staff that come into the picture because we can't just do it all ourselves. So each department has its own staff. And if you have the souvenir book, some of that staff is listed in that sort of order of hierarchy as well. You get to see that the con suite has different types of staff, and programming has all sorts of different project managers and track heads, and and even within the projects, there are several staff members that go into it, like the Masquerade, the Geeks Prom, the Geeks with Guns, and the drag show, and all sorts of things. So, you know, one of the other positions, especially it's open now, is a talent wrangler who works with our guests of honor. And so sometimes the track heads can be part of that, but then also we usually try to get at least 1 or 2 people to really be in charge of our guests of honor, to make sure they're getting what they need and get the information they need and get to the places they need to be. So, and then we also have liaisons to them. So there's a lot of different staff members that go into building a convention like this. And Penguicon is a very organic and dynamic community and convention. Even today, you can see on the boards, there are changes happening to the schedule even as we speak. So So it even said on Sunday. So you can see that even though like you have like some deadlines, things are turned in, some things get published, as time goes on, we're still moving the schedule around. We're still accommodating people. We're still letting people get the stuff in that they want. Because we really don't turn people away. Penguicon tries to be a transparent convention. We are happy to share our ideas with you. We are open to giving you mentorship, giving you information, helping you work out through your ideas to bring them in. And so we have the same mentality when it comes into actually running the con. We're trying to help you do what you love the most. So some of the open positions we're looking at for this year is obviously we're recruiting panelists and solo demonstrations, workshops, moderators for multi-panels, any new projects. We are looking for people to help with the masquerade for next year. I'm always looking for more to join the prom committee. The drag show I know always can use more staff, but a lot of preparation goes into that. And then of course we are looking for some new track heads. So if there's an area of the convention that you really enjoy, you don't even have to be an expert or be professionally involved with that area. You just have to want to do it. You have to love it. So, you know, if you want to be interested in that, let us know. If you have a new project you want to bring, or if you think we're missing something, even if it's a whole track, look at me.
I've noticed over the last couple of years, your tabletop RPG track has gotten more and more anemic. Like this year it was down to 2 birds of a feather and 1 scheduled panel with 2 official panelists. Was that a conscious decision that you were going to de-emphasize that?
No, and okay. that goes for the entire convention. Basically how it works is we take what we can get, and so if nobody's interested in running something, it just doesn't happen. Specifically with gaming this year, we had a staff change, and it was sort of a last minute change, and so things were probably not as big as in the past, and some of the tracks also ran, some of the other tracks also ran into that. We have had a lot of staff turnover the last year or two, and we're still working with that transition. So if you do see stuff like that, if you just want to make the suggestion to look for more, how we can look for more, that'd be great. If you want to take the next step and take it on, that's great too.
The reason I was asking about the conscious decision is that I noticed this at last year's convention, and I rounded up a group of 4 people who were willing to run panels and enough to do an entire track, and we volunteered for that. We we talked to the programming at the con, and then we sent some emails to the ConCom list afterwards. We never heard anything back. We just, I don't know if we sent things at the wrong time or to the wrong place.
I was gonna say, I did not see any of that, and okay. If I would have heard it, I would have been happy to help you make that happen.
Okay.
Absolutely. So if you want to do it for next year, that's the guy to talk to. Yeah, he will definitely help you make that happen, for sure, absolutely. And for any of you, if you see that, even if it's something small you want to contribute or something big, we are open to all sorts of suggestions. We're definitely here for you guys right now. Yeah, John.
If you want me to give a 3-second summary of how I got where I am today.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm John Bell. I ran Geeks with Guns this year. I'm going to run it again next year. I had signed up for it last year. If you remember, if you were anywhere in the con last year, there was a check off on the registration. For $10 more, we'll go shoot guns. Cool. Oops, sorry, didn't happen. We'll give you your $10 back, which it did. Was following a blog where some of the people who would have participated were lamenting that there wasn't going to be one this year either because nobody wanted to run it. And it's like, well, damn, I know a little bit about organizing things, so I sent email off to Chair at and programming at, and Jer Lance was also participating in the blog that I was in, so he had already answered on the blog, if you need help, email me. So I sent the carbon to him too, just so he knew that I was in the loop. And Sarah was a little busy at first, but got back to me shortly and pointed out that someone else was actually going to be doing it. Cool. He emails me about a week and a half later and says, I'm swamped at work. I'm going to go out of town 2 time zones away for a week and a half. Can you do it? This is like the 10th of March. WTF. Okay. And I made like 3 phone calls, called the range. He'd already set up the range, but I called the range and said, well, I'm going to be running it now instead. And so the guy confirmed the price, confirmed the time. Sent out a whole boatload of emails, talked it up on the blog. We had 17 people show up. And I've heard a number of times this weekend, damn, you guys did it with Geeks with Guns? How come I didn't hear about it? I've got a sign-up sheet outside of the Big Top for next year. With the permission and pleasure of the Concom, I will keep managing guns at Penguicon, so anybody who's interested, do it. But what I'm saying is...
Wait, let me clarify really quickly in case people aren't thinking. We don't mean guns in the building at Penguicon. He means the email address, guns@penguicon.org. Just clarify.
Okay, yes, sorry. Yeah.
I didn't want
And oh, by the way...
Swords are okay, right?
Peace bonded. By the way, just so people understand, I had not ever handled a handgun for 35 years before Friday afternoon. I don't know a damn thing about shooting. I want to learn. Okay, well, we need an organizer. I'll organize. Once we get to the range, people who know what the expletive deleted they are doing, I literally said I will not do anything else from this point except accept instruction.
And we had a ton of experienced shooters.
Yeah, of the 17 of us who were there were 6 newbies, 7 newbies, not quite half, but we had a lot of people. We had the gentleman who founded Geeks with Guns 20 years ago, Eric Raymond. We had a gentleman who was an NRA instructor coordinator, I think is what his title is. He's the guy who instructs NRA instructors. He's been shooting a while. We had several other people who'd been shooting for quite a while. So Sarah's right. If you want to grow something up organically, you got to like get your face out there and say something. And my guess is that the RPG tabletop was, oops, it just kind of fell through the cracks.
Well, so, on the concept of building it up, I mean, so there's like meetings that take place occasionally for like board members and then for the general staff to meet and stuff. And I'm just wondering if this is going to be an ongoing type of thing or just once a year. And this is kind of like, there might be a whole list of things that go on throughout the year that, could have synergies and things like that.
Possibly. I will say for myself, I did not attend any of the staff meetings this past year. I could have probably made it to the last one, but didn't. I was able to do everything through email. Your mileage may vary. If you like face-to-face time, come up here and hang with the people. And if I understand, it's as much a social thing as a business thing.
It is. We do both. And right now we're looking at, we have the committee planning meetings about once a month. We have programming meetings that are in addition to those first meetings, specifically just to talk about how the tracks are doing, how the panelists are doing, what are we missing, what can we get. We try to do those once a month. We're building up our community social aspect right now. We had lost it a little bit this past year. Oh, sure, yeah. So we do have a wiki, and that's actually the place where you can see the dates for the meetings, the dates for the meetups. We're doing some Penguicon meetups now. We're looking at being at Mini Maker Faire and Maker Faire for some publicity, get our hands out into the community this summer. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot available. So you can email any one of us, but it's always beneficial to come meet us and come to the meetings and get your voice heard. Absolutely.
And if that sounds very daunting, like, oh, there's Concom meetings and staff meetings and community meetings and I don't know what's what, I don't want to be, it doesn't matter. It's the same group of people who are the most active in the convention who are handling all of those aspects. So you can come to any one of the meetings, talk to anybody and say, I want to be involved, who do I talk to? Or how do I do it? Just because it's a specific type of meeting, it doesn't matter. We're constantly working and building and making this whole thing happen all the time. So you don't have to worry, oh, it's the wrong meeting, I can't go and speak out of turn.
That's absolutely right. Like 3 a.m., I'm at a room party last night, and I've got 4 guys sitting in front of me trying to figure out a better plan for the con suite. Not any one of them were con suite staff. And most of them actually, they openly said, I don't really ever use the con suite. I maybe go there for a pop, and I usually use the hotel restaurant or the restaurants. Like the mall had a food court that a lot of people walked over to. And so they're like, yeah, I never really go up there. It's not on a function space floor, so I just don't even bother. But they knew I had this problem, and they really just wanted to kind of hash out the details and the pros and cons and how can we make it better and what didn't work and what did. And it was a great little brainstorming session at 3 in the morning with 4 guys who had some great ideas. So it doesn't even matter. Tim's absolutely right. You don't have to come to the specific one to get your one job done. But just be involved to get your voice heard at one of these things, and you'll be good. Absolutely. And a lot of us hang out at I3 Detroit, so you'll see our faces, and you're welcome to just catch us and tell us an idea anytime.
And you're dealing with a group of people, obviously, that are checking their email more than 24 hours a day. So there's no reason if you can't come to a meeting either because distance or travel or work issues or anything. Just email us. Email any of the people who you see when you find any Penguicon email address. Say, hey, am I talking to the right person? And if not, please forward it on because somebody will help you out. You can't physically come to a meeting. We still, I would say 90% of our business gets done over email in terms of planning everything, making everything happen. So it's not all we got to sit in the room to do it.
Right.
Question?
There are some of us that, you run into this little widget in the wall, be it whatever. You have a problem with your ticket, the con suite makes you nuts for a particular reason. What if your interest is not necessarily in joining the whole con committee, but in fixing this problem, or what we perceive as a problem?
I think when it comes to you're saying like a very specific detail, right? You want to talk about one specific detail,
well, certain
not
people
the whole.
Can't eat what's in the con suite. And after 3 days, they start to get very agitated and cranky.
That would be a great topic to bring up with the con suite Concom staff. This year is Salithria, and maybe not telling her the idea today because she's been very overworked this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And we, I think, under anticipated some of the numbers when we planned for this year. And it's a new hotel, and so a new setup, and so we're very open to constructive criticism. So think of that. If you emailed specifically that issue, emailed consuite at penguicon.org, she would get those ideas and be able to implement them into her planning for next year if it's possible, if it's within our budget, if it's available, kind of a thing.
Well, there's also the feedback session that'll be coming up in a little bit.
Yes, yes. And the other way to get your voice heard into the community is we have a general mailing list, and you can sign up for that by going to our website, penguicon.org, and I believe under contact it will say mailing list, and you can sign up for the board list, which is really just for board business only, but you are welcome to read it. There's a Concom list, which we pretty much only post things that are very business related for the committee. But then there's a general announcement list, and that one you can post anything that is just relative to community in any kind of way. Sometimes people post job listings. I like to post the Penguicon meetups on there because everybody's welcome to come to those. You don't have to be a staff member or be on the convention committee to come hang out with us when we're doing something fun. You're always welcome to come. So those are really good. If you're not sure who to talk to, you just want to ask the question, hey, how can I work on this, or how can I give this idea to somebody? If you put it on the list, somebody will answer you and help you out. Absolutely. So, do you guys have any other questions?
Can we get a quick sense of what sort of interest you got as you wandered in here? Either I didn't know what it was about and I saw the room and I wanted to sit down, or I legitimately have, interest in one area of programming, or I want to run my own panel on such and such a topic, or anybody want to
You want to share?
what you're interested in?
I'll bite the bullet and start. The current registration head is retiring because he has moved across the country.
Right.
I know that he has consistently been putting my name forward. I thought I should probably show up and say, yes, I actually did say that was okay.
Are you new, Amanda?
I am Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. I'm Sarah.
Hi. I also thought it would be nice to figure out who the Concom is for 2013 and introduce myself.
Well, I'm con chair, and
Hi, Sparrow.
there's head of programming, And many of the rest of Concom is exactly the same. I don't know that I've met another person who said they're absolutely not coming back. I know some of the track heads are turning over because they've either committed to another convention in a bigger way, and so they don't have time to do the track this year, or I'm not really sure why else, but I think that was one of the main reasons. So we'll see some new track heads next year, which is great. But otherwise, a lot of the core.
The other reason is because I've ran half of the tracks the last 2 years, and I don't want to do that since I'm doing all of the programming.
That's true too, yeah. So core Concom
Why not?
is looking good, but even they will need staff. Like if you do registration, you'll want some staff. So even you will
It
need
would be
some
nice to
help.
have at least a couple hands.
Yes, yes.
Me and Desi here, or my name's Caroline. Me and Desi, we're with Ferndale Robotics team,
Okay.
and we're looking at we're trying to broaden our community involvement, and so we thought maybe we could either run, be a project where you can build Lego robots,
Cool.
anywhere to show, bringing a robot actually in here and showing what it can do. So we thought either one event or an entire track we could do.
That would be cool. We have a DIY track, a do-it-yourself track, and we have a technology track. And if you wanted to either be parts of that or create a robotics track, we can talk about that absolutely. Make sure we get your information.
Okay. And we have a team of 20, so we can cover all 3 days.
One of the things we're looking at doing for next year is tweaking the technology track, just because it changes. At times it's just technology encompasses everything. Other times it gets broken down into sort of subfields, hardware, software, open source, whatever. So as people come to us with ideas and saying, I want to focus on this, or if we can have an emphasis on that, I'm going to sort of make that decision, I guess, in the next month about how exactly we'll split it up. And that doesn't mean that something that doesn't fit into one of those isn't had. It's just it's added to the whole pile. But in terms of having individuals spearhead those areas and put their emphasis towards them, I'd like to have that sort of figured out in the next month. So there'll be a lot of room for sort of having a new sort of, I don't know, I want to call it creating a new track, but it is creating a new track because we're going to break up tech into different components.
Definitely.
So it could be the type of things that fits perfectly. Yep.
Have you considered and rejected or perhaps not made a decision on younger people? And by younger, I mean below 15, 14, who might need some supervision to be involved, better known as kids track. And I'm thinking that considering what many of them are getting out in public schools, which is garbage, that maybe we could begin to interest them here. Has that been considered? And
I think the long-running statement is that while kids are absolutely welcome under their parental supervision, we have not expected to go an extra mile for kids. I know there some conventions have like Confusion has Kids Fusion, which is a separate track just for children. We don't have one. Yeah.
May I suggest that if you want to avoid the kid aspect, that a simply beginner track, because there are a number of things that are geared towards teenagers that I have no base knowledge of, that I look at and go, that is fascinating and that is informative for me. I suck at chemistry, so looking at something that is geared towards a 13 or 14-year-old for chemistry is about my level.
There's another way to deal with that, to incorporate stuff without creating a separate track for it, and that is where there is a specific program available that is appropriate for that, or that makes sense. We can give it a certain tag or some sort of way of it being held together throughout, like cross-track. So there might be some introductory technology aspects for kids, or something in costuming for kids, or something like that, where, I mean, for lack of a better term, we put an asterisk by it that said that kids are welcome, or especially catered towards kids to involve in that sense. But I think that's a great suggestion. I've been thinking that would be something we could integrate, because we have enough kids now, and parents, instead of being forced to split time with how they're doing it, there might be some more things that they can legitimately be working on together. Yeah.
We have, for robotics, we actually work with kids, and the Lego program that we have is actually geared towards children, but it somehow grasps adults too.
Of course.
Because they're like,
Legos
oh my
have
god,
that
it's
effect.
moving Legos.
Yes, right.
So we could always like have a separate kids time if we needed to.
Yeah, I think that might be the best way for us to. And the thing is, if that's successful, that is the kind of thing that organically evolves into an entire kids track. You know, we start putting in programming that it sort of caters to kids or families or parents and their kids working together on projects, and somebody comes up and says, hey, you know what? I really like that stuff, and I have lots of ideas. Can I run a whole track? Can I do the whole track? And I'm going to put in all the work to do it, and I'm going to round up as many people and programming to do it, and we say, okay, maybe we'll give you a shot and try it out.
Well, so just, I mean, this is a radical idea and easy to shoot down and everything, but so, you know, the idea is that the kids come in with the parents, and the parents have to guide the kid and be with them and all that stuff when the kid, you know, the parent may want to be in some other event or something, and I don't want to make this like a babysitting thing, but so a big part of it is that you want someone responsible to handle the children, right? And I don't know if there's, you know, something. All right, so see how easy it was to shut it down. But the idea is, if you were to, you know, set something up where the parents could like pay into a hired babysitter kind of thing, and set up a room for, you know, drop your kid off and lock them.
That makes perfect sense, but personality-wise, I can tell you that will never get approved just because of liability concerns and big hotels. There's such a large amount of space.
Okay, all right. So like I said, it's easy to shut up. Let me spin it a little bit. Maybe
there
just.
are ways to integrate what you're saying in terms of having some kid activities where.
Right. So what I'm maybe suggesting is taking one of these good-sized rooms and making that the kids' activity room, and then have the different tracks bring their activities to that room. So you bring the robotics team in for an hour, you bring the technical people in for an hour, you bring the costuming people in for an hour.
Yeah, that's something that can be explored because of the idea of it's still, the supervision is not left to us. We're not saying let's have a kid's room where kids are wild and there's like one person watching after and they're responsible for it. But focusing it in on saying we're going to keep the kids' activities in a certain place does make that easier. It does make that. Yep, go ahead.
Does anybody remember contraction? No. One of the things that we did at Traction was we had a children's program, and you are more than welcome to bring your kid, and if you felt your child could be safe in that room without individual one-on-one supervision, kid was welcome to stay. Parents had to be aware that we were not babysitters, and it worked fine. We had a series of events meant to hold children various ages. We had House Stubbs come and show his reptile collection, you know, etc., etc. And it ran for 2 to 3 hours at a time. Some of the parents felt comfortable leaving the kids. Some of the parents were right in there. I was in there with them. I was running the track. And it was great fun. In the evening, while the parents were dancing, we had a birthday party. We had a 52-inch screen that was bigger than most of the kids stacked on top of each other. Cake and ice cream, and they watched a movie and ate their cake and ice cream until they passed out. It worked relatively well. Something like that might also be considered, gives you no liability because it is the parent's decision.
Well, I think one of the things is that our sort of standard policy is that, you know, this is a public place, and if you come with your kids, the liability is on your hands, not ours, obviously. And if parents do, any of the things that we do here now, even that aren't catered to kids, if a parent feels that their kid is mature enough, responsible enough, or capable to handle it, they may let the kids participate and, you know, completely free. And if they don't, then they're going to accompany them. So I think that's it sort of goes along with the policy we already have. You're just sort of suggesting that we can do some more things catered for the kids that gives parents more of an opportunity to say, oh, that's a good thing to let them do.
You know, we actually had some folks talk about creating an organization called Penguicon that would rent one of the hotel suites, unaffiliated with the convention, so we don't take on any liability, and just they would provide Penguicon style programming that's age appropriate, and everybody would keep their kids up there so that they would not be getting into trouble.
Yeah. So that is, that's something that we could explore doing.
Absolutely.
So if anybody's interested, I could put you in touch with those people to help them do that.
That'd be great.
Hi, I wanted to voice some concerns, but it's also a question. It's a mix of volunteering slash the rock band situation that's occurred last night. Well, I want to address about volunteering first. Is there a way to encourage more people to come and help? Because I know we always get the emails out, but is there like something like electronic flyers or flyers we could post up on the wall? Because there was something where I overheard that they were a little understaffed to certain shifts, like there weren't enough volunteers at one part of the afternoon and they needed some help. And we also have a tendency to run out of supplies very easily, like plastic cups and stuff. And it's just, is there like a way we can like voice our concerns besides electronically? Like, I don't know if Twittering is enough because we get very iffy Wi-Fi here sometimes. And anyways, I'm just concerned because I was volunteering yesterday and the day before that, and it's just, I don't know. It's sometimes we run out of volunteers and we.
No.
Oh, okay.
This is a recruitment panel
So-
to get help for next year. So I do appreciate your concern about that. I'm going to write it down. I don't have an answer for that right now.
Well, I wasn't really looking entirely for an answer. I just wanted to show you I was concerned because we have a lot of good people up there, staff-wise.
What I might want to do is actually go to the feedback session at 3. A lot more people will hear this concern, and then some of them might have the answer. Whereas
But
this is
I have a question that maybe will tie it all together and make it perfectly appropriate. Would you be interested in taking more of a role in the future of how volunteers is handled and sort of say, hey, these are some problems we've had, and maybe if you want to be a more like a staff member who is in a volunteer, who's on the volunteer team, then you'll have some ability to get those concerns addressed. And I mean, that's the reason a lot of people end up saying, I want to do something, because they see a deficiency, or they say, this could have done, if we had have done it just a slightly different way, I think it would have been even better. And they say, I should help. I have some great ideas and I want to help. And it sounds like, I mean, you experience it, like, if we can do this or this, that would make it easier. And so, maybe that's the best way to voice the concerns and saying, and you can talk to us later, but you want to be a part of organizing and running how volunteers goes. You might be able to make some changes or add some stuff that'll make that go more smoothly.
Yeah, and I think the other concern that I might have to say for the feedback session is what happened on Rock Band last night. There were a lot of people who waited like an hour and a half for them to set everything up, and we had technical difficulties. It was not great, and some of us even had curfews. We had to be back in our suites by 1 a.m. because we were traveling with families and stuff. It just never happened. I just wanted to know if there was a way to prevent that in the future. Like if something breaks down, we should take care of it before we set it up. It even got rescheduled at least like once or twice. And
that's usually good. I mean, that would be something good to bring up during the feedback session later today. But just to answer you quickly, it is the type of thing that it's sort of a case by case, because I mean. Right now, obviously, I don't know what the technical difficulties were. Maybe that is something that we could have a contingency for ahead of time. Maybe what it was is something we couldn't. I can't, obviously I don't know, so I can't answer that. But, but that is something that we could look at too, is having some of that stuff.
All right.
But you should definitely bring that up during the feedback panel, because the people who directly were involved with that, they might have a good answer for us, so that we can avoid that stuff in the future.
Yeah.
And I think the culture here is to give it a positive spin, that, well, something didn't work this year, but next year we can do something better to improve that.
I wasn't really trying to be negative. I was voicing concerns because I wasn't 100% sure if anyone else was talking about it. So, thank you.
Well, it's my stuff, so it's not a continuation of that. Okay. So I'm interested in helping with like Linux distro related stuff for next year, and then also doing some. So my specific interest is for my distros, which I like to pimp, but then also just providing a better, maybe distribution-related technology panels. So people can go deeper in depth on certain topics.
So you're looking more for presentation opportunities or presentation and organizing opportunities?
Potentially enhancing the track a little bit.
You know what you can do? We had a thing that for a while that went away. It was awesome. It's called the Burn Unit. We had a computer kiosk. Essentially, it was a computer that was set up as a kiosk in such a way you could walk up and say, I would like this distro, and I would like it to come with this word processor, like a couple of options. Or you could say, like, I would like a burn a disk of Windows open source software, or what have you. And then clunk, it would burn, it would fall out.
Okay, well let me jump on that just for a moment now. I belong to the MD Lug. It's a local computer club, and we have a guy in the club who has one of those, and he's in the con. Okay, the thing is, he just doesn't have time. He's interested in all kinds of stuff. He's spending, 95% of his stuff on his interests, and he's only, going to have a little bit of time for other things like that. So I think it's just a matter of, someone volunteering, getting the mind share in place to push that. We have plenty of other clubs and stuff that do Linux distros and stuff. We have the Ubuntu club. There's the Mug group. There's all kinds of computer interests in this area.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm from.
Pardon?
Are you talking about Mike Brutus?
I can't hear what you're.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about Mike Brutus in terms of this?
No, not Mike. There's another guy in the MD Lug. That's Semco, right? But certainly there are people with burn boxes around. And the Linux distro thing, they did a Ubuntu release party, right?
Yeah.
That would have been a perfect place to bring up that topic. I think the idea is that everybody's burning their stuff at home and bringing it in rather than having something local, because that's just the technology that's available now.
Yeah. Well, I guess my vision for it is to just have deeper dives on distribution-related technology, like maybe Linux file systems. I'm also interested in tying in some stuff from work with maybe like open source clouds, that kind of stuff. More technical sessions on that.
Sounds
Awesome.
like great ideas to me, absolutely.
Let me give you a quick rundown, and this will cover other people who are interested in that as well. So you've got such and such ideas, and maybe you say, I would like to present on these things. You email that to me at programming@penguicon.org, and you say, I would like to do, well, in the interim, but in theory you would be dealing with the tech track guide. But you would say, I want to do this stuff. And then we'll tell you, like, do you have a title? Can you give us a description, etc.? Is there any equipment or special needs that you have for the room to do that? Do you have anybody who's going to be giving the talk with you, etc., etc.? And that's how we end up putting all this stuff into the schedule.
Okay.
You email a track head, or programming, or both, or whatnot, and you say, I want to do this. Can I do it? And almost every time the answer is, of course you can do it. We want you to do it. That's what we're looking for.
Right.
And we'll just ask you, well, we'll need this kind of info from you, and we're going to put it in for you.
Okay.
I mean, it's as simple as that. There's no screening process or hurdles to jump through. You tell us what you want to present on, and we're going to give you the platform to do it.
Okay, what about looking to enhance the track? So sort of make sure that it's well balanced and stuff like that.
We can talk more outside of this meeting about that. But if you're interested in doing tech stuff, I would really like to talk to you about what you might want to do.
Okay. Kunal Desai has a lot to say on the question you just asked. It's the balancing of the overall. You guys should get in touch. What's Kunal's? I had his email memorized. I'm blanking on it.
So you mean the website isn't up to date?
Actually, yeah. There you go. He's on there.
Okay, so it's like the technology track.
The technology track head. He has, and he really likes to get feedback about that, and he has a lot to say on how to overall, fill in some gaps, you might say.
Okay.
So I think the drawback to any of these things, whether it's tech or costuming or anime or whatever, is that people are afraid to join in because they're going to miss on something else, right? So I don't know if this is pie in the sky, kind of do program iterations. Get it's sort of like continuous improvement or idle approach to program tracks. Get it out there 3 months ahead of time and let people tweak and suggest and stuff like that. That's hard, right?
Yes, that is great. I mean, we would pay. If we could have next year's schedule tomorrow, that'd be awesome. But the thing is that because we, like as head of programming, I'll have a team of track heads who are going to be acquiring as much programming as possible. they have to compile that together and get it to me so that I'm able to put it into the schedule. And until I have enough of that content together to make a schedule, you know, just anything manageable and workable, is usually, you know, it's getting closer and closer and closer. And so, you know, earlier deadline does help us do that, but helps to make sure that that finds its way to be tweaked and massaged to be like, oh cool, I can sort of hit the most number of things I want to see. But in practical terms, it kind of gets thrown together in the last minute in the sense of it all has to happen all at once, you know, after we've acquired enough stuff. So, yeah. Ideally, yeah, but
Okay, so you're using a top-down approach, and I'm suggesting a bottom-up, and so the whole structure of the organization is top-down.
yeah, yeah. So
Actually, that's the opposite of true. The key is to get titles and descriptions up on the website without any times or rooms. Because the times and rooms get slotted in last, but we do want to tell the world the things that are happening or that are probably going to happen during the time. And that is valuable. It possesses value. The times and rooms, unfortunately, we can't do a lot with until we get our, we start writing the custom software we want to write.
but in the sense, absolutely. In the sense though of I want to plan out my weekend is going to be.
Yeah.
All right, but so if they knew 3 months,
For me and then,
right? So it was like 2 weeks before the actual event that Jer sort of worked through this magic of deciding the major big events. What are we going to have in the top, the big room, and what are we going to have as the major events for for what's going on? If that was decided, even a month earlier, right? And so you could start getting the bigger picture things in place. I mean.
Yeah. We actually are. That is actually something we are doing differently a little bit this year, is that as soon as we can, we're getting project managers on those big things that we know we want to have, and we're going to get the themes and the guidelines up for that stuff right away, because there's no reason not to. You're absolutely right about that. So the big stuff I do want to be advertising a little bit more heavily this year, absolutely. I think this year was a big learning experience. We had a lot of new staff and a lot of really eager people who still need more training, more education, more practice at doing it. And so we're getting there, and we absolutely can use more help, and that will always be the case.
To put something in perspective really quickly, last year we had, what was the number of programming hours last year?
280?
It approached 300 hours of programming last year, okay? How many was this year?
400.
So it's a big jump, okay? We're talking more than a 25% jump in just the amount of stuff going on. The more stuff going on, the more people we're going to need to make sure it can all happen and all work out. So.
Well, the good news, this was nothing at any time of day that you didn't have something to do, no matter how sorry you were. I mean, there was something.
It's always a better problem to have, wow, I'm going to miss stuff I want to see because I'm seeing other stuff I want to see, as opposed to, wow, I've got 5 hours to sit in the console because there's nothing I want to do.
Well, so I see your hand up, but just a quick thing. There's a solution to problems of missing, right? And I'm trying to press people. Everybody's carrying around these cell phones, right, that are capable of doing video conferencing, and it's just a matter really of getting people to understand.
And you know what the thing is? I think we are totally open for that to happen.
Yeah.
It's a matter of getting people who can do it.
Right, and Kip actually was one who this year, he volunteered and offered to any panel that if he wanted it recorded, he would be happy to come if you coordinated that with him. And so, and that was in the program book and available.
And on the topic of volunteering, my friend Carl Karsten, although he can't be here now, he and his fiance took off, but he wanted to let you know, he is the guy who videotapes PyCon. And because I volunteered on his team helping to videotape PyCon, he was like, so he said Penguicon is really cool. So he came this year, and he's stoked about bringing all his rig, his huge fancy video camera equipment on tripods and stuff, with his laptop that instantly takes this session, and like 15 minutes later, it's on YouTube.
Is that why
That would be awesome.
That would be great videos.
What's that?
There's like millions of Python videos.
Exactly. He's the guy responsible for the existence of all those PyCon videos. Like, who knows how many million hits he wants to bring back.
That would be
I
awesome.
think it would be ideal if we could do that.
Yeah, we've talked about that. I've heard about this idea for the last 3 or 4 years. This is something we want to do. But this was the first year that I even had one person volunteer and say, I'm willing to do it. And so to hear that, that's great too. And
Yeah.
we've been sort of waiting for someone to step up and say, I have the equipment and I have the ability and I'm willing to spend parts of my weekend doing it. And that goes for any job. If we're missing something, it's because we don't have a person running it, or sometimes it's because we haven't thought of it yet.
Well, so, and with the equipment getting less expensive every year, it's going to become more practical. I mean, you go to Walmart now, it costs you $20 to get a real cheap camera that, and so it's really cheap. It's not going to work all that well, but you get to the point where it gets down to $20, you could probably put that in the budget to buy, 10 of those or whatever. And
we used to have little voice recorders that would be duct taped to every table.
I remember that.
And they were digital voice recorders, but the problem was it was virtually not impossible, but too difficult to get them off onto a computer. And once you did, you had, basically they had somebody come in at the start of the con, turn them on, and on Sunday come back and turn them off. You had one huge audio wave file that you download from the thing, and then to splice out, figure out where the panels start and stop, took me months. There's still stuff sitting on there that never got taken off.
So it was a really good idea in theory, but in practice, there were obviously some things that were thought through or did not work how we expected it
Right,
to happen.
and this is why I'm so excited about you videotaping things and Carl and other people. Because if you can do that, then if you're actually there with the camera, you can turn it on when the panelists start talking and turn it off when they stop.
Right.
That would make that easier.
Do you guys have any other questions?
It seems as though what I'm hearing is, this is a good idea, and this is a good idea, and this is a good idea, but that in some cases the committee or some portion of the committee hasn't gone, well, how can we put this together? Or, gee, I didn't even know this was going on. And it's almost as if someone has to go, hey, you need to have a section over here where all of you people running rings like squirrels over here are now talking to you. Need to maybe come up and solve some of our problems, like you do the video and she's going to do the audio, and we can get together every Sunday and put it together, and then, hey, why don't you put it together? Kind of.
Yeah. You have, I know that Sparrows and Tim have been involved with Penguicon for many, many years.
I'm having trouble hearing you, so I know
I'm
I
sorry.
can't hear you.
That's okay. I know that Sparrow and Tim
Well, close the
have
door.
been involved in Penguicon for many, many years. The piece that was missing is the person who's going to step up and say, I will coordinate that. So you have some very good ideas on how to deal with kids. But what you need, though, is someone who will say, and I will take point on that. I will be the one to coordinate that and make sure that we get people and get that.
Because we absolutely can't go to somebody and say, I've decided that you are going to do this thing you don't care about enough to volunteer for it.
It never works.
Never.
And no matter how much the Concom and the head of programming care, they ultimately come down to they have 24 hours a day, and at some point they're going to need
But there are certain people who professionally do this stuff whether they realize it or not. They tend to be accountants, they tend to be attorneys, they tend to be tax preparers, the world's most organized humans on the planet. One of those people is Anna O'Connell, Doug Hausman's significant other, who could probably do this stuff sitting down on her hands, and maybe if we considered asking someone like that if they could consider handling the organization. What you guys think?
What is handling the organization?
Hanging the little pieces of dangling string so they all end up making a sweater, and none of them are going to end up on wrangling the other.
No, Sparrow's doing that. That's what Concho's done.
Yeah. No.
May I ask you a hypothetical question? You
Sure.
and I have never met before, correct?
That to the best of my knowledge.
If I were to walk up to you and say, hey, I hear you are great at whatever your primary skill is.
Remember, I'm a con person.
And we desperately need you. Please do this for me. Are you gonna take that very well?
I want to know why you are asking me and what it is you want me to do.
So, again, I'm going to bring this back to, this started out as a recruitment meeting, and you have some great ideas, and obviously you also know some people who have those skills. I am guessing that you would take that information much better from someone you know. So even if you have ideas that you don't have the skills to pull off, but you know some people who do, being able to step up and say, I would like to see this happen, and I will put this kind of effort into finding someone who has the right skill for it, is still a great help for.
Yeah, I imagine most of us here would be willing to do that to some degree or another, or we wouldn't be sitting here most likely. Agree?
I know lots of people who absolutely would not raise so much money. Who've been attending for 30 years.
That's scary.
Well, I guess that part of it is that you have conflicts. You want to go to this panel. You don't want to spend the time organizing something else.
Yeah.
This gentleman's had his hand up several times.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Two questions. One, where did the birds of a feather names and descriptions come from? Because
Suggestions?
I'll answer the question.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go back. Is the second question related to that?
no.
Okay. You're familiar with what the birds of a feather are supposed to be, or not?
I remember what they were from the previous ones.
Okay.
I was
Because there was a little bit of, I don't know if you want to call it miscommunication or clarification, but generally a birds of a feather session is supposed to be a meetup. Somebody suggests a topic or something that people will want to get together and talk about. There's no presenters or panelists that will be there at that time. It's just people with like interests come together and talk about something. So this year we had several suggestions, and we had certain descriptions that were exact because people said, I knew I wanted to talk about this topic with other people, so they gave us that. Several others, they only gave us a title with no description, leaving us to wonder what that was supposed to mean because they did not follow up with anything further but a short title. And some were put in as placeholders for just the idea of these are general meetup times that people can just sit around, have fun, chat about not serious or not a non-specific title. So if the question is, how come some of these are clearly written by a smartass? That was me. Because those are the ones that they didn't have anything further, but we wanted the spaces to be available for people to come and chat and play games or do whatever they like. So for example, you get one that is, I have a potato.
that was my example.
Okay, and so that somebody gave us that suggestion, and I said, well, I don't know what you will be talking about. So I wrote a cute description. It's hot. What do I do with it? Because the idea goes along. We have hot potato. Maybe people who want to talk about potatoes. Maybe there's something else related to it. I don't know. But if nothing else, there's a time and a place set aside where people can come and chat about silly stuff if that's what they want to do. So that's what those are there for. Yeah.
Second question. You mentioned custom software you wanted written for some purpose.
This has been a multi-year saga. We've actually thrown out all our code and restarted multiple times. The idea being the software, two packages, one called CREM, Convention Resource Event Management, that we could use. The programming team could slot in events and put presenters in and times and rooms and equipment. The second package being FOMS, Fear of Missing Something, a package that would allow everyone who registers to click on I want to attend these things, and then it calculates in order to spread everyone out evenly and automatically generates into time slots and rooms in such a way that people miss as few things as possible.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I might be able to help with that. Who do I talk to?
Cool. Yes.
Okay.
By the way, what languages do you like?
I am a professional Java EE programmer. I write web apps for an insurance company.
Okay. Sweet.
Very nice to meet you. You're my new best friend. So I know we're definitely running out of time, and I know we have to get down to closing ceremonies and the big feedback panel. So what I'll say now is, if you have more feedback as far as how this weekend went, the big feedback panel is an excellent place to bring that to. If you want to put your name and email address and what you really want to do for next year on this piece of paper for me, that would be fabulous, and I will love you forever. And if you have more questions just related to getting involved into the convention, I have a couple minutes as I'm walking to closing ceremonies, or you can have my business card, and you are welcome to email me more ideas as you brainstorm for yourself and generate those. Okay? Is that fair?
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.